Starting route to Escapeexpeditions.
So the next game that we're going to be talking about is Press Start. Jocelyn, read us the story.
Dudes and dudettes, are you ready for gaming awesomeness?
Oh yeah.
Then dig these righteous features. 2 to 4 player maximum modes. 8-bit radical worlds.
Ooh.
Tubular soundtrack. Eye-melting colors. And so much more. It's cowabunga to the extreme. Are you game? Note, Press Start is an escape room. It is not VR.
I think it's hilarious that I always have you read the stories because hearing you say some of these things gives me life.
Good, I'm glad. I would like, before we say anything, I would like to note that the note about it being not VR was not on this website last time we looked at it. So I think that's funny.
Yeah, I'm sure someone thought that it was because it was mildly video game themed that it might be VR.
Yeah.
And VR escape rooms are popping up every now and then, so
yeah.
It's not out of the realm of possibility, I guess.
No, it's just funny.
But yeah, as the story states, this is an 80s-esque retro video game themed room, which is not to say it doesn't have a story, but it integrates all of your nostalgic video game loves all into one thing.
Yes, the story is just a simple Save the Princess story.
Which we may or may not have seen before a bajillion times. In video games, not in escape rooms.
In digital mediums.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was really fun, and for me, very nostalgic, because I played a ton of Save the Princess-esque video games as a kid, so it was really cool to get to do it in real life.
Not so much me. I was never really a video game person. I love Pac-Man.
With a very, very strong obsession.
Yeah, if you have Pac-Man or World's Largest Pac-Man or any kind of Pac-Man, I will play it. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with it. But anyway, my point is that I am not super familiar with all of those nostalgic games, but I still really enjoyed it because you walk in and it's like a sensory overload.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the first act of this game?
Yeah, so I have similar things to say about Act 1, or the intro to this game. To me, the coolest part is that the door to get into this game is like a retro arcade cabinet, which looks really cool. You can see pictures. I'm sure we will put pictures of it all over our social media. But it looks like a full retro arcade cabinet with like a joystick and like buttons and stuff. And the story is that the arcade cabinet has not been working.
Mm-hmm.
And
you're the team sent in to fix it.
Right, naturally. Yes, because we have a lot of history of fixing arcade cabinets.
Yeah, I feel like in our escape room lives, we have been sent in to do things we're very underqualified for many times.
Yeah, we're slowly building up our resume.
And this is not one of those things that we're very experienced at, but nevertheless, we took the call and we went to go fix this cabinet and somehow ended up inside of the game.
Yeah, so Act 1 in the hallway has you doing a puzzle to get inside of the room and inside of the game, which was really cool for me. I really liked that part. So similarly to Trouble in Tinsel Town, Press Start also has an immersive clue system, and that clue system was like instruction manuals.
Yeah, they were like little mini booklets like throughout the game, which if it were in any other kind of theme, I don't think it would have worked. But since it was like this retro video game theme, I think it did work, because if you were going to try to ask for help or try to figure out what you're doing wrong in a video game, you're going to look at the instructions for the game, because no one ever reads instructions before they actually play a game. So yeah, it was like these little mini booklets, and it would be next to whatever puzzle you were working on. And if you had a specific question about it, you could flip the page and it would give you like a little nudge. And if you still didn't get it, you could flip more until it finally gave you like the actual answer if you really were just super stuck.
Yeah, so as far as clue systems go, it wasn't my favorite. I think it worked in the game that it was in.
Right, yeah, I agree.
But compared to the rest of their clue systems, this one was my least favorite.
Yeah, and also, it didn't really bother me that much, mainly because we never had to use it. Like I said before, we finished this game pretty quickly, like in 40 or 45 minutes, and we needed like a little bit of a nudge from our game master, because he could tell that we were spiraling into an obsession over a puzzle that we were just way off base.
We were going into a rabbit hole.
And we weren't looking at the little manual because we were so determined that we were going to figure it out. So he gave us like a little nudge. But other than that, we didn't actually use the little booklets, little manual things.
Yeah, so we're just talking like about our opinion of them conceptually versus like if they were actually effective for us.
Right, or how they worked in practice.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to say about immersion for this game is that in some of the reviews I've read that other people have written for this game, they mentioned that they were given the opportunity to play this game like on expert mode and like not talk to each other because, I mean, characters in a video game don't talk to each other like in those retro video games. And we weren't given that option. So I don't know how that would play into the game as well if you added that element to it, which we didn't have.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a thing that is still happening.
Yeah, or maybe, you know, people who did that, it just never worked and people gave in and started talking to each other halfway through. But
yeah,
I don't
know. It was
know.
too frustrating.
If we had done that, it definitely would have taken us a lot longer because to talk to each other, we would have had to like learn sign language or like have a little board or something to write to each other like in thought bubbles.
Yeah, which would have been fun and a different challenge. But I do think it would have been frustrating. So for me, it makes sense if it's not a thing that is implemented anymore.
Yeah, so if you go and that is offered to you, it's not like an unheard of thing. People have done it before. We just didn't personally do it when we played.
Yeah.
So do you want to move on to production value?
I want to talk a little bit more about immersion, which is kind of a production value thing. So the whole idea is that you are inside of this video game. Mm-hmm. So the walls are like supposed to be the screens, basically.
Yeah, and on the walls, it's a whole bunch of different colors and different characters that you can recognize, and the little landscapes that you remember from those games.
One of the immersion breaking things for me was that you couldn't touch anything on the walls. Everything on the walls was like for visual reference, which worked gameplay-wise, I think, and it made sense since they were supposed to be the screens, but for us playing, it was pretty frustrating for me.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you couldn't touch the walls, I don't know if that was more so that you wouldn't break any of the things that were on the wall. I don't know if that was the driving force behind that rule. But for me, I mean, if someone tells you not to touch the walls, then that means you don't need to touch the walls. I don't feel like an overwhelming desire to start touching everything on the wall, especially when someone told me that I only needed it to look at.
I know. But for me, if it is in front of me, I want to touch it.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, there were parts that you were allowed to interact with.
Yeah.
So you had to consciously keep telling yourself, okay, but that I'm not supposed to touch.
Yeah, I don't think that took away from the game. It's just, for me, it would have been more fun if that rule was not a thing.
Okay, that's fair. In terms of production value, what are your thoughts?
I thought it was super fun, super nostalgic. As soon as I walked in, as soon as we saw
that facade.
Yeah, like the game cabinet. I was like, okay, I am ready for whatever this is.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was, like I said, it was like a sensory overload when you walked in. And the transition from the first space to the second space was really cool for me, and it gave you a lot of different visual inputs and...
Yeah, different kind of sensory overload.
Yeah, a lot to do and a lot to see.
Yeah, in this game, the puzzle... This is kind of more of a puzzle thing.
Yeah, we can move on to puzzles if you want.
Yeah, so for puzzles, the puzzles in this game had some of my favorite that we saw throughout all three of Lokey's games. They were super fun. Maybe it's because I was very into the video game aspect of them. Mm-hmm. But there were some simpler puzzles and a couple puzzles that I had never seen before that I thought were super creative, so that is always a plus.
I would agree with that. There were some things that we knew immediately what to do right off the bat. Some things took a little bit more time to kind of digest before you could figure out what was going on. But yeah, I like that it was kind of a mixture of all of those different kinds of difficulties. And like you said, that one particular puzzle I think you're thinking of was when we saw it, at first we were like, what is this? And then when we figured it out, we were like, oh, so cool. Like I had never seen that before. Some of the puzzles also made you, like I said, interact with the environment to become an actual part of those video game tasks that you know and love. So I thought that was really cool as well.
Yeah, there was a really cool joystick element that I liked and was very video game.
Yeah, overall I really enjoyed the puzzles in this game, and even though I was never a big video game person, I still really thought it was very cool.
The puzzles in this game were the easiest out of all three. For
sure.
the most part.
Yeah.
But the game is advertised as easier than the other three.
That didn't take away from it for me.
No, not at all.
It actually, I think, was really in theme because when you think about those old school video games, you don't think of anything that's super overly complicated or very like cerebral logic type tasks. It's all just like fun stuff. Helps you save the princess. What more do you need?
All right, so last is overall experience.
I had a great overall experience in this game from start to finish, from being outside the game and finding your way into the video game world. I really loved that. Once you're actually in the video game world, everything really flows well. Even though it's all a mixture of different video games, the puzzles still flow together pretty seamlessly. And for any of those of you out there looking for nostalgia and you are not close to an old school video cabinet, this gives you an opportunity to be inside one.
Yes. The soundtrack was also really cool. It was a good mix of all of those retro video game soundtracks.
Yeah.
So you will definitely recognize some stuff, which made it more fun.
And easy to dance to.
Yeah, always need that in a game.
I do. I don't know about you. I'm always busting a move. Do kids still say that these days?
Probably not.
No, I don't think so.
But yeah, I recommend this game like crazy. It was super fun. If you are a video game fan,
definitely must
check
do.
it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Your destination is on your right. The end of this review.